Hey there everybody, Steve the Amateur Historian. How y'all doing? I'm here in part because today I actually don't have a This Day in History video. I am not losing my steam by any means with that series. It's just the last 2 weeks, as I've pretty much shown on my channel, I've been going out and vlogging a lot more and trying to really make up for a year where I didn't really make that much. I mean, I made some stuff, but I didn't go out and see the world. And I think I've done like 23 or something videos in that time, and it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time, and I have a job I have to work, and editing takes time, and I'm covered for about a week on those videos, but for some reason I never found anything for July 1st. I just never did. And so, I haven't lost any steam with that series. I want to keep that going as long as I can. And this is just a situation where there was just too much other stuff going on, and it just didn't happen. So there isn't going to be a This Day in History video. However, there is a pretty big event that happened. I think it was reported roughly about a week ago in later June. Obviously, it's July now. But there was a case, and I actually had taken a bunch of information about it, and I've been kind of sitting on it, and I was actually planning on probably doing an episode of my murder mystery series about this, and it was the Keene Creek, sorry, I'm having to look at the information, but I think it was called the Keene Creek John Doe, and it was like a 2-year-old boy who was discovered in the summer of 1963. In a reservoir not too far from Ashland, Oregon, Southern Oregon. And I took information down on this probably about a year ago. So at that time, it was just this lingering cold case that had been cold for almost 60 years now. However, using DNA, they managed to actually identify who this boy was. So if I would have done a video, I would have to do like a retraction video to say, hey, we thank God we figured out who it was. It's this kind of double-edged sword. It's really great that we finally have an identity to put to this 2-year-old child that ended up, in this horrible situation, dead in a reservoir somewhere. That's the positive side of things. The negative is the fact that this had to happen at all to a young child who was believed to have had Down syndrome as well. And he was identified finally as a boy named Stevie Crawford, who was born in New Mexico, October 2nd, 1960. So he was, he was pushing 3 years old. And finally, kind of like several months back, they finally identified who was... there was a skull of a woman that was found up on Mount Hood in the mid-1980s, and it was this lingering mystery for a long time, and they finally identified last year who that person was. So, there's so many unsolved cases, there's so many John Does, there's so many missing person situations, but still, periodically, we have events such as these where a solution is finally reached, sometimes in cases that are more than half a century old. And the DNA also confirmed his relation. He had a half-brother who's living in Ohio who stated specifically that he had a young sibling with Down syndrome who was born in New Mexico and went missing. And that's all the information I was really gained from him. And it seems like it's still a mystery how Stevie Crawford ended up in Oregon, specifically in that reservoir near Ashland. So it's kind of like the girl whose skull was found on Mount Hood. Like, we have an identification, but we still don't really know how this individual ended up where they ended up. But at least we have an identity, and investigators, I'm sure, are diving headlong into this, trying to establish his last known whereabouts. The fact that he has it says confirmed maternal half-brother living in Ohio who stated he was younger and went missing. Either, something sketchy happened within the family and this half-brother is covering up for that by saying, oh, he just went missing. Or probably the more likely scenario is this child really did go missing. Either, was abducted by someone, some scenario that led to somebody else getting possession of Stevie and his body, and he ended up where he ended up. And I don't even know if they discovered an exact cause of death for him. Maybe they did, but in this specific little moment, I'm not dead certain that they figured out exactly what it was that killed him, if they were able to ascertain what that was at all. So again, this discovery is only like a week old, so there's still a lot for investigators to probably dig through and try to figure out if they could discover any more information about this Stevie Crawford, how he went missing, where he was last seen alive, all those little things that you hope you can find the information on, so that you can get a little bit closer to discovering exactly why this person ended up where he ended up, especially as likely being a 2-year-old child going on 3, having Down syndrome as well. Now, I went on to Reddit as well, and I saw somebody posted something stating this is like a month ago, that they'd been tied to this child, like it was deemed that they were family. Keene Creek Boy is solved. This was posted by Conscious Sherbert 69. I don't know if this is allowed, but my family has been recently linked to the boy they found in Keene Creek in Oregon. Information won't be released for a bit because they're still trying to get DNA done to seal the deal. I will update post if this is allowed. Thanks. And this was posted about a month ago. So mostly just a lot of, I'm sorry that happened, but, at least we're somewhat glad that, an identification is being found. Someone under the name Defiant Wind states specifically, I am the one who was linked to the Keene Creek boy as a first cousin. So this is another person who is stating that they were related to this boy. And they actually say specifically, and if they're directly related to this boy that was found, I'm inclined to believe what they say. They say that his name, it says some of the stories coming out of Oregon are not correct, and it's been saying that his name is Stevie. Sorry, now I'm mixing them all up because I don't think the names are the same. Stevie Crawford is what Oregon Live stated, and this was posted June 28th, so a couple days ago. Updated June 30th. It says Stevie Crawford was his name. However, Defiant Wind is the identity of this person on Reddit, says specifically that his name is Stephen Alexander Copeland. Crawford Copeland. They're close, but I don't know how you mix that up. And he's going to be transported to Louisiana to be buried at the cemetery there. So I don't know if that means that that's where he was from, because I believe he was just buried in Oregon somewhere. So yeah, I would like to see, that's really unfortunate if they can't even get the right name. Like I'm even like right now kind of trying to figure it out. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything for Stevie Copeland. Now I'm wondering if I type in Crawford, and now a lot of stuff is coming up, so I don't know for certain. Pretty much all resources are saying his name is Stevie Crawford. Yeah, his body was found wrapped in a blanket by a fisherman, Rogue River fisherman. Blankets were bundled tightly around him. All right, in June 2021. So this didn't just happen, but it's more just in the last week that it's really started to spread through the news. In June 2021, Crawford was confirmed to have been identified after matching DNA was found on 23andMe by a private company to a family in New Mexico. Once determined, the family explained to the authorities that the child was known to have had Down syndrome and that long ago his mother had returned from a trip saying that he was taken care of. So now maybe we're getting, I don't know for certain, but maybe we're getting a little bit more information on exactly what are the circumstances surrounding how this kid ended up just disappearing like this. Crawford's mother has since passed, hindering any investigation into possible filicide. The family now plans on transporting the boy's remains to New Mexico to be buried in his home state, whereas the person on Reddit was saying transported to Louisiana, and I was wondering what the connection there would be if he was born in New Mexico and seems he was from New Mexico, and he didn't live that long. And under disappeared, it says circa 1962, 1963, so it seems like he could have been missing for a very long time before he was found. Yeah. So, whatever the circumstances, we have an identification, finally, of this young boy. Under the Doe Network, it states, in 2021, the National Center for Missing Persons and Exploited Children partnered with the Parabon Nano Labs to revise their original reconstruction of the boy, which was based on a CT scan of his skull. DNA phenotypes tested. Okay, so this is mostly technological stuff, so I don't even know if have they acknowledged that. Yeah, no, he's still listed as an unidentified male. So yeah, so there's still a lot of mystery lingering out there. In terms of how this boy ended up, and I hope they really dedicate a lot of time to trying to figure out who this is. It's one thing to say, well, we finally identified him, and that's the most important thing, so we can all kind of sit back now. This little boy deserves justice, and we need to, you know, and if unfortunately the circumstances surrounding what happened to him are never discovered, at least an effort was really, truly put out there to try to figure out what happened. So, in lieu of a This Day in History video, I wanted to do, I stumbled on this like 2 or 3 days ago, and I wanted to mention it on my channel because, you know, it is Oregon-based like me, but also because, you know, with my mystery murder series, and I obviously look at a lot of things like this, and I was even looking at this case to possibly do a video on, and now, even with the mysteries still out there as to exactly what happened, I don't have to do this video in terms of us not having any idea who this child is anymore. So there's at least some progress in this particular situation for this particular little boy who was taken far too early. So that is my video for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for supporting me, supporting my channel. Members, always hit up my my Patreon, my Instagram, Facebook, my TikTok, and my Reddit subreddit. That's all in the description below. You know how it is. And I don't want to spend too much time yammering about that, considering the sad, tragic nature of this video as a whole. But anyway, y'all know that's there. It's in the description with this video. And all that said, thank you for stopping by. And I can only hope that, you know, more of these cases that I've looked at in terms of unsolved murders, John Doe cases, things like that in the state of Oregon, or, you know, around America and around the world for that matter, hopefully, you know, one by one, more of them will get solved. All that said, this has been Steve the Amateur Historian. See you later.